Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Chatting Kit, the podcast series by Kitlocker. This had been originally advertised as Matt Smith from Palmers FC. Matt Smith from Palmers FC can't be with us today, so he's more than likely going to be the headline act of season 2, which is yet to have a date attached to it. So we're going to be wrapping up series 1 with Niran, a good friend of ours.
Next best thing.
The next best thing from the Concept Club. So I'm not sure how many people know about the Concept Club, but yeah, this is what we're here for. And you can see from behind us, if you're watching the visual of this, that Niran does create shirts for a fashion streetwear brand. So we've got a lot of questions to ask him around that. His experience with business so far, and what his next steps are. And then we've got our old favourite, the Are You Normal section as well, which I'm looking forward to hearing some answers.
Me too.
Around that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's get into it. Niran, first question, who are you and what is the Concept Club?
My name is Niran, thanks. The Concept Club is what it says on the tin. It's a idea of what a streetwear club, football club would be. Like if streetwear had a football club, this is what it would be. So it's like taking influences from sneakers, from fashion, from streetwear, and closer.
Just don't move it.
Okay, cool. Streetwear, fashion, all of those kind of things in the culture, and like applying it to football in a way that we can get away with. And then, yeah, that's what it's been so far.
We'll mention a bit about what you can and can't get away with a little bit later on, I think, because it's quite a hot topic, I guess, from a copyright perspective. Why did you want to make football fashion shirts and these concept shirts? What was your inspiration or idea behind it?
Do you remember that pink Juve shirt that Drake wore?
I do remember the pink Juve shirt.
Like 2015, 2014, around that time.
Where did he wear that?
I don't remember, but it was just like snapped wearing it. I remember like all the controversy around it, and everyone's like, "Oh, he doesn't even know what the club is." Da, da, da. And I was just like, "Does he need to know?" And then that was like the idea that kind of sparked it. And I was like, "There's a lot of people that wanted to wear it, but they felt like they couldn't because they didn't know who the manager was or Serie A or anything about it." And I was like, "You don't need to know." So there is the market of people who just like the way it looks, like the way it fits, the materials of what football jerseys are, and they just want to have fun with it. So I was like, I can see there's something to be had there. So that's when I started kind of playing with that idea. And then I thought, if people can wear a club that they don't know what it means, because I could wear like an NBA jersey and I don't need to know nothing about it, then I could just make one up and see if it would work. And I did. And it did work. So I'm just gone from there.
Do you think that there was probably a negative or like a cynical view of people wearing football shirts because it's always been associated with someone that loves a specific football club, maybe hooliganism a little bit, even though they wear casual wear, the hooligans do, I guess, but it's kind of seen as not a fashionable thing. Was that the defining moment where you thought, yeah, anyone can wear a football shirt if Drake can wear it?
I think where we're from, in London, we've been doing it because of the NBA influence. You could wear an NBA jersey and it can be casual, so we've kind of been trying to sneak it in, but it did come off a bit chavvy sometimes. But I think as like Nike and Adidas started clocking onto it, they started making more jerseys that were like fine line of fashion and sport. And I think with that, with them embracing it, as much as people like just wearing it every day and not wearing it to play football, not wearing it to train, wearing it to parties, wearing it to like their friends' houses and stuff, then that's when like the shift kind of came along, and that's when we came in as well. Did
you see people wearing specific team shirts when you talk about going to these parties when you were in London, and were people wearing a specific team or was it a mixture of all sorts? I think
the most popular ones was PSG, Arsenal and Real Madrid and Barcelona. So it would be the teams that had the most popular players, people would just wear the jersey.
Yeah.
And you would ask them, "Oh, do you know anyone else?" No? And they wouldn't care. And I was like, "Oh, fair enough." Some people would have an issue with it, but I always thought it's cool. You don't need to know really. Like it is good if you do know, and I think it is a good introduction to the sport as well. You see a player do an overhead kick and now you want to buy the jersey, then you might slowly. The same with skateboarding. I think that's another thing, because like when Vans popped up, everyone's wearing Vans, but people's like, do you skate? Do you read Thrasher? You don't need to if you like it. And then when you wear it, you're like, oh, what's the the waffle 4 and then you realise it's for grip. And you're like, okay, maybe I can try this skate thing. I already wear the shoes, and then it's just an introduction. Same way with
so it's like a gateway almost into that sport or that
exactly,
niche.
because the person who's wearing a jersey for fashion might have not cared at all. So now they've got the jersey. It's just like the next progression to get involved in it. So I'm all love. I think it's all love. Like I don't see shouldn't be no issues. But I'm not, the hardcore like you got to support. And
I think that's the most comprehensive answer we've had on this podcast so far.
thanks.
Behind us, so for people listening to this on Spotify or SoundCloud and all the other major podcast websites, they'll not be able to see the jerseys that we've got behind us. They are, when you boil it down, they're teamwear jerseys that have got influence, ideas and drawings put onto a shirt. How do you get to this stage of like the wave badge and the sponsor that you've got on the shirt? How do you get to that point where it's actually on a shirt and printed?
Well, right now with Kitlocker, so I guess you guys do all that for me. But when I first started, it was literally trial and error. The first place that I went to with my ideas was a school shop that literally done embroidery for like primary schools. And I was like, I've got this idea, can you do it? And I got a couple of no's. It wasn't like, yeah, sure, straight away. A lot of people was like, no, we're not going to do that. And then found a couple that was like willing to try it out. There's a lot of trial and error. So, it wasn't just Photoshop and it worked straight away. There's a lot of trial and error. Even like the stages that we're doing now, it's like you kind of have to do a bit of research into what your final goal wants to be, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it probably does.
Yeah.
Who or what, maybe what more than who, influences your designs?
Public opinion, really. What I see people wearing on the street a lot.
That's one of my later questions, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, but
when I see people wearing things, and I like when people wear things out of context. Like, as I said, skateboarding was the first one for me. Like, I liked Vans when I first saw them before I cared about skateboarding. And when I wore them, people were like, do you skate? I'm like, no. And then I learned to skate and things like that. So when I see people wearing different stuff, that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from.
Cool. What's the plan for, we'll split this into two. So what's the plan for Concept Club and what's the plan for yourself moving forward? Are they intertwined or?
I'm not too sure for myself. I want to get to concept for like the stage of that I am with the concept. I want to get it to a point where it can work without me because I've done so much. So I want to see what it does. I think because when you're like growing a business, I think when you first start, you have to be one of the same. Like you have to be the business because no one's going to have your vision. But then I think the next stage of a successful business and anything is it working without you. So trying to get it to the point where it works without me, that's my plan. But for the Concept Club, I want to get it to a point where it represents something. Because right now it does represent maybe like an internet kind of theme, but I want it to represent something for someone somewhere, but I don't know where yet. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board and just look at how, because when I wear Nike swoosh or when I wear Adidas, the 3 stripes, wherever I'm wearing, I do feel like I'm representing some kind of sporty kind of background. Do you know what I mean? If I'm wearing something Gucci, I feel like I'm representing the kind of high fashion sort of thing. So finding where the Concept Club can represent something for someone which is on the borderline of sport and fashion, but really means something. I want people to like, if someone says, why are you wearing it? Like us, because, I don't know, maybe we sponsored a tournament or maybe we done an advert that represents street football somewhere or something. I want it to represent something. So that's where we're going.
It's an amazing answer. I just want to wear Concept Club now for the rest of my life, I think. These shirts that we've got behind us, again, I'm referencing visual, which is not ideal for a podcast. But, and talking from a Kitlocker perspective, there's a lot of different finishes to a jersey. So it could be vinyl, embroidery, sublimation, direct to garment. There's a lot of different variations. Talk me through the design process. So you said about you got turned away from a couple of places. How did you get to a stage of printing an embroidered patch and like a vinyl print, for example? How did you get there from not knowing anything about it?
I always work backwards. I think if you're not an expert in something, that's the best way, because then I think you can ask the right questions. Because if I tried to work from, for example, if I came to Kitlocker and saw all the different embellishments, I'd just get lost. I wouldn't know where to start. So I always work backwards. So I would see a badge, or I'd see a vinyl, or I'd see a sublimation, and I'd be like, okay, I'd make a design and I want it to look like that, rather than learn what sublimation is, because if I learn what it, like, I would just go too deep into it and I'll probably just miss the mark. So
if you didn't know, if you, like you said about the design, if you said, I want it to look like this, but if you knew what sublimation could or couldn't do straight away, do you think that would affect your design?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it would give me too much choice, and then I'll have what do they call it, analysis paralysis, or you just have too much choice. I wouldn't know where to start. So as I said, I always work backwards. So I say, I want it to look like this. Can it be done? Yes or no? And if it's a no, then tweak it to what can be done, rather than trying to learn everything. That's just me personally, because I would just get lost.
I think that's probably something that a lot of people can live by.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Working backwards is good, and then it allows you to have a bigger goal. I think in everything, working backwards is good.
Yeah. One thing to live by. Work backwards.
Yeah.
Quickly touching on Concept Club again, and I don't need to know specific figures, even though this question is going to ask a specific figure. How many shirts since you started the Concept Club have you sold?
I'd say enough to make a living off.
Very, very diplomatic.
Yeah.
Very diplomatic. Has there been a price that comes with that? And I know we've spoke a lot about this off camera and off the podcast, but what have you had to sacrifice to get the Concept Club to that stage?
At the start, I don't even know how I got so deep into it. Now I think about it, looking back, I don't know how I just managed to dedicate so much time to it. But as I said, I got a lot of no's. So having an idea and then trying to just get it off the ground took a lot of time. Like, you can't do it part-time. So I know a lot of people have started like similar brands and then stop. And I know exactly why. It's because there's so many different hurdles. Like, as soon as you get one thing, like you might get embroidery, great. Then it's like even just getting the jerseys. Like, it's not just like a normal t-shirt. It's getting them, and then there's like things like Fallout, where you're going to lose 100 jerseys, and you have to weigh it up. Like, can we afford this? Luckily, I was in a position where I didn't have too many expenses, so I could take the risk and I could put the extra time in. So. Yeah, I don't remember the question, but I think
I've probably lost the question now as well.
What was it again? It
wasn't even talking me through the design process. We've already gone through that. The actual question was, how many shirts have you sold?
No, after that.
Oh, it was after that one?
Yeah.
So you're talking about sacrifices.
Yeah, I'd sacrificed a lot of my social life, but I was loving it at the time. So it wasn't like this or that. It's just like, I'm not going out tonight, lads, or I'm not going to play clubs tonight on FIFA because I'm doing something. And then before I knew it, was like 7 days a week. I'm just like getting jerseys, getting designs, answering messages, and just living this entrepreneur lifestyle.
Love that.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about that in episode 1, and I think there's a bit of crossover and some similarities, 100% between you and Mike.
That's a big compliment.
Well, you never know what can happen. Kitlocker's very old, so who knows where Concept Club could be in 15 years, you know. So you talked a little bit about it then, where you weren't playing FIFA clubs and you were answering emails from customers. The design side of it is what I'd consider as the fun side of it, and the creative side, and the one where you probably get the most satisfaction out of taking a design from Illustrator or Photoshop and it being on a shirt. But the other side to it, answering customer queries. So where's my order? My shirt doesn't fit. Can I exchange it? Can I get a refund? How did you find that?
That was like so draining. It was crazy. I remember like having nights like just slaving over jerseys, like literally And when I first started, I didn't even have a car. So I'd literally like take the bus. I'd take a train, take the bus, get the jerseys in a box, take the jerseys back on the bus and the train, and then like be folding them, packing them, like doing the labels all myself. And then like after you've slaved away all night, just get an email, where the fuck is my I'm just like, oh. Like, it's like, I'm trying. Like, I don't give a... Like, they would be just ruthless.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, sometimes if something went missing in the post, like, they would email you like 5 times, say, where is it? Where is my stuff? I paid for this. This is a scam. I knew it. And then when it arrives, because you can see the tracking, nothing. Like, no thank you, no nothing. And just see a post on Instagram. Oh, I love my jersey. Just go. I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a love-hate relationship with the customers. But I have had some interesting conversations with a lot of people because somehow they got my number. One guy turned up at my address from America, which was nuts. I'm telling you, I literally just opened the door and it's like, yeah, so I bought a jersey from. I was just like, how did you get my address?
Wow.
And it's like, oh yeah, because I looked in the MasterCard, blah, blah, blah. He's done the whole reverse. He's like, yeah, so can I get my size? I'm just like, mate, I don't know what to say. Like, it was crazy. So I've seen it all. Like, I've seen it all. But there's the good side, because like you'd get an email like, "That's my son's birthday. He wants one. Could we get it in time?" And it was slave ways. Send like next day, and they'll get it in time. It was Christmas, and they'll get it in time, and then they'll be like, "Oh man, that's all he wanted. This is great." So there's both sides of the coin. It's not all doom and gloom.
Talk to me a little bit around Christmas then, because I think there's a lot of crossover and similarities between maybe what sometimes my job at Kitlocker around working with influencer clubs, and where sometimes demand can spike with around a certain product. Mm-hmm. Did that Christmas rush nearly ruin your life or ruin your Christmas?
It didn't ruin my Christmas, but it could have. But I think because the first Christmas that I did was like the rush, getting that all the orders in at once and like seeing it was like exciting. So when we did it, it wasn't too draining. It was more like amazing. It was just great, really, because we got them all in time. I think the first Christmas was really good. The second Christmas, I kind of underestimated things and I was a bit too confident, and then that was like, that was just crazy. So
Christmas is cancelled.
Yeah, like at one point I just stopped taking orders because I was just like, we can't ruin so many Christmases, basically, because people would be like, "You're gonna ruin our Christmas." I'm like, "It's just a T-shirt, relax." But
people, if it's what someone wants, it doesn't matter what the monetary value of it is. Because I think a lot of people when they're younger, they have a main Christmas present, right? But that Christmas present is normally like the main one's normally the more expensive one, but it might not always be the one that means the most to you. And like a shirt, you follow it on Instagram, you watch your YouTubers and they're all wearing it and you're like, I need this. And again, they don't see that the logistic side to it in the background, trying to get the shirt from a warehouse, get it printed, get it packed. A lot of those things that they don't see, they just think my money's gone now. Where I want my stuff. And I think we've got Amazon and maybe ASOS to thank for that a little bit. Yeah, that's
spoiled every 100%, 100%. I think the most crazy email I got was someone bought 2 jerseys, and then on the third one, it got missing in the post. And it was like, I knew it was a scam. I was like, it doesn't make any sense. You've already got 2. Like, how does that make any sense? But yeah, as I said, the two sides of the coin. It does get stressful, but then when it does pull through, it's quite satisfying.
Yeah, very satisfying. Yeah. Definitely. Just to move away from that a little bit and maybe away from online sales and Instagram and social media, you ran a workshop at Nike Town with the Concept Club. Was that quite a defining moment for you where you thought, actually I'm a bit of a big deal in the concept football shirt and football shirt culture market, or was that just something you took in your stride?
I think it's funny because they kind of say when you kind of become the person you want to, like, kind of always wanted to become, it's like you're over it by the time you become that person. So I think it was always a dream to do something in Nighttown, like literally like a goal, like ticked off doing that. But when I was doing it, you kind of, and I always tell people, is you kind of realize when you're working with like the big brands, you're not actually working with the whole brand, you're just working with someone at the brand. So on the outside, it was everything I wanted it to be, but on the back end, it was just another job, really. So it was really interesting, and it was good to see people, because that was one of the first time I got to experienced customers and people like, yeah, I followed Instagram since 2015 and blah, blah, blah. So that was really cool. But I really could have probably did that by myself. But it is about like taking a punt on yourself. So with that, it was everything, as I said, on the front end, it was everything it could have been. It was amazing. On the back end, it was just business as usual, really. So, yeah.
You sound a little bit like Alan Sugar there. Yeah. You've got it where it's at, just business.
Yeah, man, it is. Because you would think, I don't know what I expected. I don't know if I expected Cristiano Ronaldo to come and shake my hand for everything I've done, or I don't know. But it was just, yeah, so we're going to do this, going to do that, this is the dates, this is the deadlines, going to do it, yes, no, cool, bad things.
Yeah.
And then,
get paid and leave.
Yeah, and then get paid 6 months later and then leave. So, yeah, so it's not like, yeah.
We've already said the brand, so there's no way we can hide that now. It is what it is. Business, talking about business to business rather than business to customer. You've obviously always been B2C, concept club, sales to customers. You told me recently that you worked on PlayStation FC kits. Is there anything that you can point out in particular that says, I'd like to do more B2B stuff rather than B2C stuff? What was the main difference between the two?
It's easier in some aspects because with B2B, they know exactly what they want and they have the budget, and yeah, so it's quite straightforward, but they do have a lot of control. I didn't have much to do with the design. I was more of a consultant to the design, just telling them what would work and what wouldn't, rather than what would look good. So
do you feel like you would have wanted that a bit more creative license over it, or were you not bothered?
Well, it wasn't my project creatively. So if it was, I'm pretty sure the people who they got to do the creative stuff had the creative license to do what they want. But what comes with that is they didn't know how to make a jersey, so it didn't make much sense on the printing side of things. So I think, from my experience, if I had an opportunity to, I probably at this point wouldn't, because it kind of distracts you from your goals, and it does take a lot out of you. And at the end of the day, it's like, great job, and then you just continue. But there's not really much to compound off of it. So I think it's good to get the experience, but once you've done it, then you just, for me personally, just stick to what your goals are and just accomplish that. And then maybe if you have spare time, I wouldn't make it. If it's not your main thing, don't make it your main thing. I think that's what I'm trying to say. If it is your main thing, then it's good, because, as I said, they know exactly what they want and they have the budget, and it's very organised. And I've learned a lot from working with them on how organised to be, how to give other people information when you want to do stuff, not every day, WhatsApp, sometimes send a full PDF of exactly what you want and how to do it. So I've learned a lot in that sense. But if it's not your main thing, stick to what you know, stick to what you do.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with it, because I've worked on business to business activations and stuff like that, and once it's done, it's done. There's no there's no legacy, there's no continuation of that relationship with them. Once it's finished until or if there's another project. So I think it's definitely taking what you can from it and then just applying it to what you're going to be doing yourself in the future.
One thing that I take away is that, as I said, when you're working with a brand, you're not working with the whole brand, you're working with a person, which could be a good or bad thing. So if you're working with a person and you do work well, it's good to have them as a contact, because that person that works at brand A might move to brand B, and you've already got a working relationship with them, so you can there is some kind of continuation on that sense.
So you're almost building up a network of contacts.
Yeah, but with the brand itself, the person who done the job could move as the same way, and then a new person coming in and back to square one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. We'll leave B2B there. I think we've just made B2B sound quite cool, when in reality, it might not be as much. What is the current state of football fashion?
Funnily enough, for about 12 months, I've taken myself away from it, because I was very triggered by a lot of things. So I was like, I need to have a fresh eye, not as the founder of the concept club, just as a spectator, because every time a new jersey would come out, I'd either compare it to mine or compare it to something I would do, or I wouldn't be able to just look at it and be like, that's cool. I think literally just in the last month, again, I've started looking at football jerseys again. I think Roma's jersey, I saw the turquoise one. I was like, that's sick. And I didn't feel like, I would do this, I would do that. It should have been this colour swoosh, or they should have done that. So I've taken myself out of it, but I'm just coming back in. But I do like how competitive it is. I feel like there was one brand that was higher than the other. But I feel like this season is quite balanced. Like they've looked at each other and it's like depth and levels.
Yeah, I feel like for a while Nike were really pulling away.
I didn't want to say it.
Like I'm just glad that we think the same thing.
Yeah.
From a design perspective, I definitely think they were pushing boundaries more. But I definitely think that Adidas have kind of looked at that and thought we can have a piece of this.
Yeah.
But it's good for everyone because it means that regardless of the manufacturer of a specific club and the fans of that team, they can enjoy a nice jersey because they're pushing each other, which I think it's what it's always been. Like whether it's been boots or whatever it may have been, even like sportswear in general, they're always going to push each other, which kind of brings everybody's level up.
Yeah.
So now you said that you're looking at football fashion again in the last month. Is it saturated? Or for anybody that's listening to this that's into football fashion, could they create a website, a concept and sell jerseys?
You definitely could, but I think a lot of what could be done has been done. But I always say that until someone does the next big thing. So I wouldn't discourage someone from doing it, but don't just do it because you've seen other people do it. Because this is what a lot of people do in just business in general. They'll make a product and not a brand. And that's what I did when I first came with the NASA jersey. I thought that would work, and I made it, and it worked. But it was just a product, and it wasn't a brand. I couldn't build a brand of that. So if you're just making a product, I wouldn't even say don't do it, because if you're doing everything like what I was doing, from customer service to marketing to everything, then you'd only be able to handle one product anyway. But if you want to create something, if you can't think of the brand, then you're just going to be stuck. And then when you get to that stage, you're not going to know what to do. So I wouldn't discourage someone from doing it, but at least just understand, try and look at the bigger picture at the end of the day, because it is, I would say, it is saturated.
Yeah.
But a lot of things are. And something being saturated doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because you can still come in and look at Tesla. Cars have been saturated forever. And now Tesla's the biggest brand out there. So it could be done.
No, I think you're right. We quickly spoke about YouTube football as an example before, and how saturated it is. But I guess if you do come in with a fresh opinion or stance or vision of how it should be, then maybe you can cut through that saturation. It's when people are coming into a market or a style or whatever it may be, and they're just trying to copy something that's already there. You are going to hit that saturation point pretty quick. So
100% agree.
You just mentioned the NASA shirt. So we'll not touch on the NASA shirt for too long, because I don't think we need to that much. But were you ever worried about using the logo?
No, because streetwear from the beginning has always been that. Every big streetwear brand has ripped off something, and it's almost like a rite of passage. It's rip them off, get a cease and desist, and then that kind of gives you kind of it's like being the bad boy. It's look what we did. Look what we're willing to do to I don't know, get exposure. But at the same time, I think with something they have pushed it too far. Not in clothing, but just, I guess, the whole clout chasing, just doing things for attention. I wouldn't encourage someone to do it. But if you have an idea that is aesthetic, just do it. No pun intended. Just do it and let people see it. Because a lot of people, from just a graphic design point of view, would get hired for putting an idea out which might not be theirs, but they've just remixed it in a way that's very unique. Do you know what I mean? They could set fireworks going, and who knows? So I was never scared. In fact, as I said, because I've done enough research to know what I can get away with. But if I was to, I'd let everyone know what's happened. Because that would just bring more attention to me as well.
Yeah.
And it's look, well, we can't sell it no more because, et cetera, et cetera. So then everyone that has one, now it's limited and it's never coming out again.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have one, now it's no one's ever going to, and that's that kind of piece of...
It's like a legacy thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
That's not that I was waiting for it, but I've always had it in the back of my mind, if anything was happening like that, this is what I'll do. And it's not even something I've made up. Supreme's done it, Stussy, Champion do it all the time, even though they're more legit now. But when they first started, they was just ripping stuff and just getting their attention and just going.
And I think I've seen NASA jerseys in Urban Outfitters, H&M, probably even Primark. I don't shop at Primark, but those guys, they'll influence and rip.
Yeah, they're the biggest. They do all the time. Even the Rihanna thing, they'll do it. make their money, get sued or get the cease and desist, and then again that just brings them more attention, and then everyone that had it is now not one of a kind, it's like limited, and now you feel even like happy as a consumer that you have one.
Yeah. So the value that you paid for it is, you just think, all right, that number's now astronomical almost.
Yeah, exactly.
No one can buy it. Move away from NASA. My favourite shirt that you guys ever made, and I'm pretty sure you're going to love me for doing the research into this before the old website went down, and you moved across to more like a Kitlocker powered platform. The Chinese New Year shirt. Talk to me a little bit about that from a design perspective, because that was probably the most aesthetically pleasing shirt I've ever seen, especially on a level that's not I think China national team, their current jersey or the one that they had recently kind of looked like that, but I was like, you did it first.
Yeah.
And for me, that was probably one of the most iconic shirts that you've done.
The funny thing about that jersey, going back to just putting stuff out there, is the reason I made that jersey was because I wanted to get stuff from China, but it was their Chinese New Year. They don't work during Chinese New Year. Yeah,
I'm all too aware of that, unfortunately.
So every time I was hitting up, and this was the first time I'd like use manufacturers abroad. So I was emailing everyone. I didn't know it was like a national thing. I thought it was just each company was just, this company as well, Chinese New Year. So every email just kept saying Chinese New Year, Chinese New Year, Chinese New Year, Chinese New Year. So I was like, might as well just make a jersey. Just because if that's what the universe is telling me right now, then I'll just make a jersey. So, and that was the first Sublimation jersey we did.
So talk to me a little bit about Sublimation. Is that arguably, I've dealt with Sublimation a couple of times, and it's frustrated me at times. And that's probably why we don't do it in-house at Kitlocker. Was it a really frustrating time for you, or a big learning curve?
Yeah, that jersey, I got the most exposure and lost the most money from making that jersey.
Double-edged sword then.
Yes.
It's kind of good, a bit bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sublimation is a nightmare, but when it does work, it does look beautiful. But it's like hit and miss, man. So hit and miss.
Yeah. Eating into some serious profit margin.
But I'm not going to shy away from it. I do want to master it. So we have some designs hopefully coming out soon with Sublimation, but it's just about making sure it's right. So conceptclub.com coming soon. Little plug.
Cheeky plug. You made a design because you were getting emails around Chinese New Year and it being closed. How far in advance do you make these designs?
Make them, send them to the printers. If they can do it, then it's out. Literally like that. As soon as it can be done, then it's out. So, yeah.
Cool. Lucy's just written this question for me. One of our young up-and-coming guns in marketing. In April 2018, you worked with Hubrick on their community captain-based football tournament, and there was some pretty hefty names playing in that. So Poet, we spoke about Poet in the car prior to you sitting here now. How does that make you feel, seeing people of that influence wearing jerseys that you've created? Does it give you a good feeling?
It does, but at the same time, because I was working with Hubrick, I didn't know who was going to wear the jerseys. I think I saw, what's his name? Specs Gonzalez. And I actually thought it was a charity. That's the only reason I even put myself forward. I didn't know it was like a company behind it. So I thought it was a charity. So I was like, if it's a charity, we'll give you the jerseys, it'll be cool. And I just thought it was just Specs. So he put me in touch with Hubrick, and then there's like, we're not a charity, Well, they actually didn't even say that first. They just said, yeah, sure, we'll take jerseys. And then after I found out they're not even a charity or nothing, and who's going to be involved. So as I said, on the back end of things, it's just, I just supplied jerseys to company. But on the front end, like seeing, I think Don Shapsy was there, what's his name? Big Zoo. Like, seeing them wear it is cool, but it's just like, just business, because they just wear. I actually get more excited when I see someone on the street wearing it who doesn't know who I am, and they're just wearing it. And that's when I'm like, wow, that gets me way more excited and influence, because influencers get stuff all the time.
Yeah. And, it's quite that's quite a saturated thing. But when you see someone that's parted money with a shirt that you've made, that's way more satisfaction. Yeah, and I mean, even now, like, if I see someone wearing a SE Dons or a Palmer's jersey in the street, like, I'm like, oh my god,
sense of pride.
I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe it. And I'm like messaging people. And Adidas rep Chris Roberts, he told me a story about being at Blackpool Beach and someone wearing a SC Don shirt there. I think I might even have mentioned this in episode 1, and I keep of the podcast, and I keep referencing it because it takes it away from just creating something it being online, and then it's real life, and it does give you that sense of actually it's justified why I've spent time doing this.
Yeah, I think with our generation we have kind of disconnect with the numbers. So you might post something and get like 5,000 likes and you feel great, but you don't really quantify that it's possibly 4,000 people, 1,000 bots or whatever, but you don't quantify what it is. And when you see it, I would rather see one person wearing a jersey. That's more mind-blowing to me than 10,000 likes on anything. It's easy to just see the numbers and just be like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Funny story with seeing the jerseys. I was just going to ask me that.
No, well, I was going to mention about seeing jerseys in the street and what it kind of like how it makes you feel, but you've pretty much said it's a sense of accomplishment and gets you gassed.
Yeah.
I believe is a word that you would use.
That's the correct term.
I'm glad that I used it in the right context.
Yeah, that was right.
Music, like Big Zoo, Don Strapsy, does music have an influence on design?
It does. Not anymore. It did at the start, because I remember when I first made a Yeezy kind of inspired jersey, because when it was with Adidas, it just made sense in my brain, like Yeezy, Adidas, jersey.
I think I remember that. Was it red?
It was red and one was black.
Yes.
And that made a lot of sense, and I liked that. But not really. I feel like music, it doesn't really affect design, but they're just popular, so whatever they wear is just relevant.
Yeah.
It's all about, they're more relevant than like design, like swaying the design sort of thing.
Yeah. The next section of these questions is, are you normal? I've only got a couple of questions for you in that section, because I think you are quite normal. You're just very driven and creative. Before I do that, I just want to quickly touch on something that I think we both share a little bit of passion about, and that's Nike and Jordan and PSG.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you see something come out of Jordan and PSG, you're straight on it, looking at it and thinking, that's good, that's bad, they could have done this better, or...
Kind of a bit of both, because with Jordan and Nike, by the time that came out, I kind of met a lot of people on the back. So I was like, the fact that it came out, regardless of what it looked like, is like massive, because I know would have been a lot of no's. There would have been a lot of people that was like, no. So the fact that they've done it is like crazy. And it does look good at the same time. But I think because they didn't win the Champions League, for me it's like a bit taken. Like if they won the Champions League that year, that jersey would be like legendary. That would be like a legend. That would be a jersey frame if they won Champions League that year. But because they didn't, it's almost just like another. And then they brought out another one after. I think they have another one this year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, well, it's just.
Do you feel like it's quite so the lack of success maybe might have tainted it, but also they've maybe like injected too many products into that collaboration that's kind of taken away the prestige? Because I remember season 1, or the first capsule per se, that sold out like instantly, and things were reselling on every reselling website there was for treble what it was actually worth or to buy originally. But now it's like everything's available in every size, and it's almost turned into this commercial beast.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm trying to apply that to the concept club by saying like it meaning something, because I didn't notice before, it never really registered to me that the fact that they win was a big reason why the jerseys were successful. Obviously they do look good, but they were winners at the same time, and they had the cool players, Neymar's, Mbappe, so that made it cool. And then when they lost, I was like, oh, maybe this jersey isn't that hot. But it shouldn't be like that. Yeah, it just is.
But I think that's what everybody plays on, and I think probably Nike and Jordan and even PSG were probably banking on more success in that jersey than what they did, because they were always going to win the French league, the domestic league. So the pinnacle, and to top off that collaboration, they had to win Europe.
Yeah, I thought they was going to win as well. I think that's the most shocking thing. I think if it was like against
VAR,
the way they went, I was United, innit?
Yeah.
I think if it was more of a story like last dying minute and they put up a real fight, then I think it would have been a bit better. But they just went out in such a weird way. It was just like, well.
I think people left the stadium and thinking, are we through?
Yeah, it was like,
or not? Like,
I remember the meme of Neymar looking around like, what just happened?
Yeah.
I think that just summed up everything. Like,
yeah.
It's just crazy.
I think that's somebody's career up at PSG a little bit. But we'll not talk about Neymar. We don't need to talk about him in this podcast. I've got 3 more questions, and these are your normal questions. The first one is, do you spend all day on Instagram?
No.
What does your day look like between dropping new products? So Concept Club's been quiet for a while.
Yeah, I can't go on Instagram because it just gives me anxiety. I'm not even gonna lie. Instagram, it's either telling you you're broke, you're ugly, or you don't have enough trainers or something. But every time you go on Instagram, it's just telling you like you need to do this, you need to do that. There's someone, you know, in Italy living their best life, and it's just too much. Like, I don't know how people can survive in that. So it's been quiet for a while on Instagram because we've been doing more B2B stuff. And when I come back, or when we come back, I'm gonna kind of give myself a kind of viewpoint where I don't look at the likes. We upload to upload. We're gonna make a schedule rather than like just feeling. I'm gonna try and make a schedule and we just upload, and it's just, if you F with us, then you do. If you don't, then you don't. Because it's trying to just keep up with it is just too much for me, man. It's just too much.
I kind of like that answer because I feel like it's a very grown-up answer. You see things now where there's social media detox places. So there's always like places where you can't take drugs or you can't drink alcohol. These like detox places, and it's almost like social media has become the next thing for that. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, where it makes you feel like you need to buy something to feel validated. And I think I'm just glad that I'm a little bit older than being addicted to it, because I feel like it could ruin some people's perceptions and not a life. I mean, it's just a social media platform, but maybe for some people.
I always say, like, one of my little cousins, I want to show her, like, I want to bring her to as much like photo shoots as I can, like for her to meet famous people, not to meet them, but just to see the real people. Like, when the photo shoot's done, obviously the picture's going to look amazing, but everyone's just chilling, eating a sandwich. It's not like some magical thing. It's just a picture, and it doesn't matter how much likes it gets, this person still eats the same way you do, put their trousers on one leg at a time. It's just like, because it is easy to just like look at Instagram and just think, damn, man, why am I like in these four walls and it doesn't look like that? So yeah, man.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for that. It's getting very deep. Yeah, too deep for the Chatting Kit podcast. The next question was, we almost touched on it. So it was about stopping and staring at shirts in the street, and it was more around Concept Club shirts. Yeah. But just in general, so like you're walking through Tottenham and you walk past somebody and you're like, that outfit's cool. Do you do that, or do you just...
I always follow someone. If I've seen a jersey, I saw a jersey literally yesterday, and I was driving past, and I was like, is that a team jersey or not? I couldn't tell, because it had a lime green swoosh, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I literally spanned my car around and drove past, and then span it again and drove past, and I still couldn't see it. So that reminded me, I need to check if that's a team jersey, because if it is, I'm definitely using that.
I can't think of a shirt that's got a lime green swoosh.
Man, I wanted to take a picture of it, but I thought that might be a bit too much. But yeah,
January is a new catalogue, so I think we might have got some new colours that you might like.
I don't know who that was, but yeah, I would follow someone. I would sometimes even stop them and be like, oh, where'd you get that? Yeah, I'm on it.
Love that.
Yeah.
You've got to always never switch off.
Yeah.
Always thinking.
I'm always looking at what people are wearing.
The last question, and I think the first time I ever met you, you referenced this person a little bit, it's just always stuck with me since. Virgil Abloh, and you told me, I want to be the next Virgil Abloh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do you take a lot of inspiration from him? Do you monitor what he does regularly?
I did a lot of the time, because I think his entry to the game was really cool. I really like how he came in, and I think it's again going back to just putting stuff out there, because he's done, and again like the borderline of what you can and can't do, because he's done a lot of things which is like you could get in trouble for. I think maybe a little less now, because I've found out how smart he is, and I'm definitely not as smart as he is. So I don't know if I could really like follow his footsteps, but just the fact that, as I said, you can be the next whatever. So because before him, if someone said, some random dude from, I don't even think from Washington is going to be the next big thing, the way he came in was like unprecedented. It's like it's impossible to say, this is what he's going to be, even if you was watching everything he was doing, because he's done so much. So I'd still say it's a big influence, but I think I've just looked at him. as a inspiration on a pathway rather than like comparing myself to.
Yeah, not an emulation, it's more inspiration.
Yeah.
Cool. That was my final question. This is the point of the podcast, and we've done this as a running theme throughout so far, where we flip this around so the guest can ask. We've not got an audience today, unfortunately. Maybe we should have had an audience, where you can ask the podcast anything, or myself, or anything about Kitlocker. Is there anything that you'd like an answer on right now?
When I become the biggest brand you guys work with, what do I win?
What do you win?
Yeah.
I think you could probably have your own desk.
That would be good. I'll take that.
Yeah.
There should be like a wall of like something, I don't know.
I think maybe we could have some concept club jerseys on the big wall in the office, maybe. Not frame them, because I think framing them's a bit too corporate. We're not trying to portray that message. We're trying to, peg shirts to gridiron walls, and it all looks quite urban and edgy and that kind of stuff. So maybe that.
Okay, that's good. That's a good consolation. I'll take that.
It's a good start anyway. Cool. And no, I think anyone that's going to listen to this that's got an interest in football fashion or concept clubs, probably rooting for you to carry on smashing the game. So
hopefully with Kitlocker we can do that.
We can. Global domination.
Yeah, first Sheffield and then the world.
Sheffield and the world.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Maybe we put that on the next shirt.
Yeah.
Thanks, Niran. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
So that was not as smooth as what I wanted it to be. So this wraps up series 1 of the podcast. Again, apologies if you were expecting Matt Smith of Palmer's FC on this episode. We're going to definitely get him on at the start of series 2. It's only been 3 episodes. If you can give us any feedback on what we can do differently, or what you'd like to hear, see, feature, or what guests you'd like us to have in season 2, we'll see if we can make it work. So thanks for listening.